Welcome to our video lecture number 1. Today we will be talking about the Okies, their migration and discrimination they had to go through. Although some Okies were privileged, they still were discriminated when they moved somewhere new. The term Okie was used to denote the residents of Oklahoma. Okie was directed toward any migrant in California. Most Oklahoma residents came to California looking for a job in the agricultural and manufacturing industries.
Dust Bowl was the name given during the 1930s after severe drought and high winds degraded farmland. Dust storms buried farmhouses and equipment, forcing people to leave. The entire disaster was not due to natural causes. After years of overproduction and poor farming techniques had left the land vulnerable to the winds. The migrants who are struggling have become the symbol of the misery during the Great Depression. Due to the Dust Bowl, thousands of farmers traveled west hoping to find jobs. Usually, people were competing for work and wages with each other. They found work for little time, and it was usually for very low pay. From 1935 to 1940, California received 250,000 migrants from the southwest region, most of which came from Oklahoma. Some of these migrants were moving because of the Dust Bowl, forcing them out of where they currently were living, but far more left from southeastern Oklahoma because of the drought.
The families packed their belongings and set out on a journey of 3 days or more down Route 66 to a supposedly better life in the far west. This migration began in 1935. When the migrants got to Barzal, California, they had to decide whether to follow Highway 66 into Los Angeles or turn north toward California's central agricultural valleys. Some 38% of the southwestern migrants chose Los Angeles. They did not find a warm reception. Briefly, in 1936, the Los Angeles police established a bomb blockade at the California borders to keep out undesirables.
When Okies came to California and found that most of the farmland was tied up in large corporate farms, many gave up farming. Many set up residence near Okieville, sold cheaply for $5 down and $3 in monthly installments. They built their house from scavenged scraps and lived without plumbing and electricity. Polluted water and a lack of waste led to outbreaks of typhoid, malaria, and smallpox.
Tubular sclerosis! There was a presence of discrimination in the air. As migrants who came from Oklahoma to California, police officers would check them more than once, and people feared them out of the ordinary. Discrimination was put down on the Oklahoma labor workers. The powerful Associated Farmers were afraid that the Oklahoma migrants would demand better wages and unionize. Because of that, they began to demoralize and humiliate the migrants. Tension between California residents and migrants was aggravated by ongoing labor strife. Dozens of farm strikes erupted in 1933, some led by communist organizers or their sympathizers. In response, a group of wealthy farmers and businessmen formed an anti-union group, Associated Farmers, AF, which recruited local sheriffs and citizens to harass migrant workers who were considered troublemakers. Major strikes in 1936 by lettuce pickers in Salinas and in 1937 by cannery workers in Stockton ended in violence when the AF sent hundreds of armed vigilantes to break up the strikes with tear gas. In conclusion, some Okies were privileged, while most of them were treated poorly and unwanted by the residents of California. When and if they got a job, they were treated unequally and they were demoralized.